and I will start to introduce our amazing panelists. So we have our moderator, who is Sarah Turner, the CEO and co-founder of Angel Academy. We have Cassia Curran, the CEO of Wings Interactive, that deals with funding. So please talk to her if you'd like to talk about funding. We have Shivani Lamba, who is the founder of Brightlobe. And I'm so sorry, is Simay? Simay, yes, I remember. So it's Simay Dinc, who is the co-founder of Recontact Digital Arts. And please give a huge warm welcome back to Roberta Lucca, who we've just met and did a great talk. So give them all a huge round of applause. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much for that very energizing introduction, and really wonderful to see so many women in the room. So I'm Sarah Turner. I'm founder of an organisation called Angel Academy. We're an angel network. We're investing in women-founded and co-founded technology companies, not games companies specifically, although we have invested, and I've personally invested in a company called Tech Will Save Us, who I'm sure some of you will have heard of. And what's unique about our angel network is that most of our investors are women. If anyone's ever been in the investor environment, it is really heavily male-dominated and very macho in culture, a little bit like the games industry. I am just going to hand over in a minute to the panel to introduce themselves. I've then got some questions that we've been discussing. We had a really fascinating pre-meeting. We could probably go on all day, but we won't. But I'm really keen that we then hand over the floor to you and to your questions. So have a think about what you want to ask and get ready for that. So panel. So we're all entrepreneurs. We've all built businesses of one shape or another. 3 of them are games developers, and 2 of us have built investment businesses. But perhaps we can get everyone to introduce himself. I know a lot of people have already heard from Roberta, but why don't you just recap, because there are some new people in the room.
So, good. Shout to the microphone. So I'm Roberta. I'm co-founder of Bossa Studios, a games company that created hits like Surgeon Simulator and I Am Bread. We won a BAFTA and Pigeon Simulator most recently, not launched yet. We are 90 people, all in London. We thrive on creativity. We do game jams on a monthly basis. So we create 5 to 10 games every single month, and everyone participates, from HR, marketing, developers, everyone. And yeah, that's who we are. What else should I say? I have a YouTube channel. I keep on forgetting that, very important, which I started a year ago with the mission to share all the knowledge I have been accumulating over the last 9 years, plus other years of not being an entrepreneur, to share all of those lessons with the world. And I'm also an angel investor nowadays into really amazing, great female founding.
Hello everyone, my name is Simay. I'm co-founder of Recontact Digital Arts, and I'm a game producer of award-winning cinematographic mobile game series Recontact. Now we are working on Recontact London. It's a beautiful blend of cinema and mobile game you can call interactive mobile cinema. So we are very excited about that. And also I'm a founder of Women in Games Turkey, empower more women in the industry in Istanbul, in all over Turkey. And we aim to make people realize that this industry gets enriched by different disciplines. The amazing multidisciplinary industry. So yeah, that's it right now. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shivani Lamba. My background is actually in computer science and neuroscience. I founded Brightlobe, which is a VC-backed serious games and child health startup. So what we do is we create high-quality mobile games that are designed to assess a child's developmental trajectory. I've been working with a number of prominent academic institutions to roll this out in early next year. So I basically raised seed funding late last year and recruited a team to release our first service in Q1 2020.
Hi, I'm Cassia Curran. I'm CEO of Wings Interactive. Wings Interactive is a game financing fund that is very new, unannounced, that focuses on funding PC console games by female and minority game developers on a revenue sharing basis. Prior to Wings Interactive, I was head of business development at Jagex in the UK, and before that, I was investor manager and did business development at NetEase in China. So I've been all over the place.
Right. You've had investment for your business as well, haven't you? And obviously your VC and angel backs as well. Just to clarify that. Just to understand a little bit more about you in the audience, be really useful to know. Who here is would describe themselves as curious about entrepreneurship? Hey, good for you, good for you. So, who already has a game or a business idea? Does anyone have a demo or MVP? Okay, we'll stop there, but you know that kind of illustrates there are different levels and stages to entrepreneurship and different sources of funding and support available at each stage. That's very helpful, thank you. So, kick-off question from me. So some of you have mentioned what you were doing before, but what was really the stimulus for starting your own business? What do you need? What did you feel you need to get started, and what made you take the lead? Perhaps let's start with you, Cassia.
I think it was quite a specific set of circumstances, but what made me extremely interested in Wings Interactive, I was very much approached to lead Wings Interactive, and after carrying out market research, I realized that on the PC console side, female gamers are really treated like second-class citizens by the games industry. There are so many games made by men for men, like Hitman series and Payday series and Far Cry series. Like there's tons of different franchises which have male protagonists and so forth. But there are very, very few games made by women for women. I think about the experiences of Tanya Short, who is the CEO of Kitfox Games and lead designer of Kitfox Games in Canada. Her game is a game called Boyfriend Dungeon, which is an awesome mashup of a dungeon crawler and dating simulator. And she went to all different publishers who all were men and couldn't find funding from any of them. Eventually she gave up, went to Kickstarter, got the whole thing funded in less than 7 hours, quadrupled her original target, and it just won Best Game at the Gamescom in the Booth Arena Awards. So those are the kind of games I think are missing from the market currently and can have a strong financial impact.
Great, Sarah. So I think there were two questions there. One was, what is the stimulus? And the second question was, what did you need? So I'll answer them in reverse. What I needed was funding, like I'm sure many of you need. And so what the stimulus for Brightlobe was I guess it was a perfect storm of some interesting ingredients. So my background is actually as a neuroscience researcher, and I was doing a lot of research in children's hospitals here at Great Ormond Street Hospital and back in the States as well. And one of the things that really caught my attention was the lack of suitable follow-up for children who have chronic illnesses or developmental delays. And what that basically means is that once they're discharged from things like treatment or they leave the clinic, there's not much that goes on from a clinical perspective or from the parents to help them kind of on their journey through life. And being someone who's always, so this is a little bit different potentially than what this audience might be used to, but I've always been interested in sort of educational games and serious games, which I realize there's a little bit of skepticism around, but it wasn't always that way. Back in the 90s, there was this heyday of amazing educational games, and I thought, you know, here's something. Maybe we could do something here. Maybe we could put together my passion for these types of serious games and try to solve this problem of these children not receiving the follow-up and clinical care that they do need. And so that's where the idea of Brightlobe was born, but it was very much a side hustle and a side project. I incorporated the company in 2012. was working as a software engineer, as a researcher before that for many years. And I only closed my seed round at the beginning of this year. So a very long trajectory, but that was the stimulus. So something that I started a long time ago and then followed up continuously until today.
So, my brother and I'm the co-founder of Recontact, and our background is film industry. We were independent filmmakers, but very passionate about gaming. I'm a gamer since I was 5, and I was like very like Hideo Kojima is one of the role model into gaming industry. So we decided to move into gaming with the motto of making playable arts. But we were 2 people, and he was the film, before he was a film director, now he's a game designer. I was a film producer, now I'm a game producer, and we need 1 person and the game developer. So the first thing we need to find the amazing game developer who is John Aksoy, and we started with 3 people. I think the being entrepreneur journey starts with the team. So maybe you can start with the solo, like you are a hero, but the team is such an important thing. Sometimes the investors, they don't focusing on the idea, they are focusing on the team. What is the experience of this team, what is the background? They are really focusing on the people, not just the idea. So one of the things is that team started creating the team.
So what motivated me? So I had this whole story of being exposed to entrepreneurship when I was in university. If you were here before, you kind of heard me talking about that. But also, I think after so many years working in corporations, I was working at Nokia, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? It's like I'm just, creating technology and marketing and products to sell more mobile phones. Feel like I'm making a massive impact in the world. So there was something kind of in me that was deeply frustrated, and it kind of started to grow up in me. It's like I need to do something that I feel that I'm contributing bigger to the world. And for me, games is like whatever people talk about games out there, people who don't know enough about the industry or about how much creativity go into that. For me, it's about connecting people. It's about not Nokia slogan, but it's like really deeply connecting from a like I didn't even realize I said that. So deeply connecting emotionally with others, right? As you playing games. And so for me, the first thing I think from a practical perspective you should do is to be very aware of your biggest strength. It's like, what is your spike? What is the thing that you believe that you can do much better or very different to a lot of people around you? And this is a very difficult exercise, but you should ask your friends, ask your family, ask yourself, kind of go into literally sleeping, thinking about that until you find it. And then you start building talking to the right people to combine forces to start a company.
Okay, so we've talked about the starting point as everyone's had an amazing idea, a problem that they really want to solve. You're doing it as a side hustle for quite a long time. You've got a team. What support? What other support did you think you needed? Financial and non-financial, and how did you go about getting that?
So, okay, I'm not sure if I was lucky because my co-founders are male, so I'm not sure if that kind of helped. And also they had previous network in games because they had been already building games, and I think that helped with raising funds in the beginning. But it's not only that, right? There's a lot of things that you need to prove that you can deliver and deliver fast. I think nailing your why do you exist is very important. Because whoever you're going to talk to, either someone you're going to hire or talking to investors to get money, you need to get your story very right. And the stories are very different. So when you talk to someone who you want to hire is different to how you're going to tell the story to an investor. So capital is very much needed, and a very solid idea of a game. In our case, we defined that at the time we were making games for Facebook. And it was the time that Zynga had all the super casuals with FarmView, CityView there, and we're like, there's this massive platform called Facebook. There are a lot of people spending so many hours of the days there, and there isn't any great game that are catering for the more hardcore audience. And so we position ourselves in a very unique way. Yeah, did I answer the question? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
no,
Because I can go here.
In our first year, we started with 3 people, and we just focusing on our game. So we want to come up with a new genre, new idea into the gaming industry. So we didn't set up a company in the first year, just focusing on the game, and we launched the game 5 years ago. And Apple chose us the best mobile game, and they launched in 153 countries, and we got many awards, and just we did it with 3 people. Then we decided to set up a company and produce more games, more cinematographic games. Then I start to stalk investors. Who invest which company? Why? And I found an amazing gaming expert, Erdem Yurdanur, who was Turkish but lives in London and invested many gaming companies. And I start to talk with his startups. I mean, are you, how is Erdem? How can he help to you? Are you happy with him? So I was like a detective, like first year. Then I just bought a ticket, come to London, and I have a meeting with him. And I said, I want to be you as an investor. I didn't pitch any pitching session, or I didn't talk with many investors. I just, first year I was like a detective. Then I picked him like a Pikachu. I just, you are mine. So after first meeting, he said, okay, I want to be your investor. And Erdem, he has an amazing network, and he's like a smart money. He has an amazing experience, amazing network, and the money. So after he joined our company, we launched our second game, Recontact Istanbul Eyes of Sky. And he had an amazing, we got an award, and we reached millions of people. Then investors wants to can we have a meeting? Like, I didn't go to that investor, but they come up to me. So it's amazing thing. So one of our investor, it's woman, and she wants to invest in us, but she hadn't got any experience in gaming, but she's an amazing investor. She invested 30 tech companies, and she wants us. She wants Recontact. She was really focusing on our company. I said, sorry, no, you can't invest in our company. But like almost 6 months, she convinced me. How can she helpful? She created team for us. She brought us in amazing conferences, amazing meetings. And then we decided to accept her. And now we are so happy. I was wrong because I was focusing on the gaming expert who has a gaming experience. But I believe that, especially women investors, they can help. They can treat it like as a mom to your company and to you. So the caring and the sharing is very important for an investor, and she's doing an amazing job for us. The name is Hande Enes. Please follow her. She's also investing in companies in UK. So yeah.
So it's a slightly different question for you, Shivani. We were talking earlier about credibility, and you're not from the games industry, but obviously very credible. How did you overcome that when you were talking to investors?
So I think because I have credibility in my field, that was very useful in establishing the credentials of Brightlobe as a startup moving into the healthcare space. In terms of the serious games space, it didn't hurt that I also have a background in software engineering. Being a technical founder is very valuable. It means that you can kind of hold up the technical aspects, obviously, of a tech venture, which is super useful. I've also run an education technology consultancy prior to founding Brightlobe. In fact, that company is essentially what financed sort of the early version of Brightlobe that I eventually ended up pitching to investors. And when I say financed, it allowed me to hire a pretty good artist to create some assets that I could then build into the prototype. So in terms of establishing credibility, I think a lot of it came from the company and the consultancy that I had run previously. The kinds of clients that we had were high-vis clients in the education world. So we worked with a number of major student travel companies that were very into gamified classroom curriculum plans. And so in terms of ed tech and education technology, I'd sort of established myself very firmly there. Sort of secondarily to that, I think a very important part of building a business like this where you feel like perhaps there's an area where you're lacking in some expertise, don't be afraid to go out to people who you think could bring that expertise to the table. And what I often think is some people, including myself, are sort of held back by thinking that if you cold email someone or if you tweet at somebody, you know, that's going to somehow, well, the only thing it's really going to do is make you feel not so great. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is that they don't respond. But I would be really proactive about trying to find mentors in this space where you feel like you don't have a lot of credibility. That would be sort of my practical suggestion to anyone who thinks that, you know, maybe you're not super technical, but you know someone who could become a board member, a non-exec director on your startup board or as part of your games company. Don't be afraid to reach out to those people, make that pitch, make that ploy, and market yourselves and reach out to those people, bring them on board, convince them to give you that advice and that mentorship to take your idea to the next level. But I guess that's my suggestion. In summary, don't be afraid to reach out to people.
I think that's really important. It goes back to Roberta's talk about take action. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen is that somebody will say no, isn't it? You just move on. I think, you know, it's a question I ask myself all the time is kind of when I feel I'm pushing myself outside my comfort zone, what's the worst thing that can happen? So, Cassia, is a different question to you. As an investor, what are you looking for in investments? What stage do people need to be at when they approach you?
So in our Wings Interactive, we've set up a board of awesome female independent game developers who evaluate the games for us. So we do have quite a lot of, even though we're not announced yet, even though we're not really publicly pushing that Wings exists, apart from we have so many pitches from game developers that we definitely would like to see games that have a prototype at the very least. We set it up so that we have an application form that game developers can fill in, and that has a lot of requested information, so like a pitch deck and what is your budget, what kind of business model are you looking, which platform specifically are you targeting, what's the production schedule. It's very much like the classic PC console lines. So in terms of what the key criteria for us is like, first of all, do we believe that this game is gonna make us make any profit? It's really important for us to fund games that are commercially and secondly, is the team diverse? Those are the key criteria for us at the moment.
Well, as investors, we quickly run out of money if we're not seeing a return on our investment. So if we want to continue making investments,
that's quite important.
Make sure your business is successful.
Like sometimes people are like, you want, like when I say, it's really important for us to make profit, they look horrified as if it's like something, you know, you said something dirty. No, I like money. I would like to make lots of money. Please make games that makes lots of money. Thank you.
And you know, and likewise for entrepreneurs, it's really important that you make money so you can keep your business going, and then it will empower you to become investors later on in your career as well, which we definitely need more women writing those checks.
Yes.
So now I'd like to throw the floor open to the audience. So if you have any questions, please stick up your hand. We'll try and get round to everybody. First one's there.
Thanks. So we heard a bit before about like with the whole like mentorship or being like kind of finding guidance, and also like mental health was mentioned before, and I'm kind of my question is like one of balance in a way, like from this whole entrepreneur thing panel, you hear a lot like, yeah, just do it, just go for it, like you can do it, you can do anything, woohoo. And of course that's super great, but on the other hand it's like, but I'm scared and I'll get depression again if I overwhelm myself. And I guess my question is like, how do you or what advice would you give in order to balance that? Like, how does one find the right moment to like go all out? Like, how does one decide, yeah, I just need to move out of my comfort zone, or like, yeah, no, I might actually kill myself working if I do this? You know, like, I mean, how do you find the balance between this whole just do it attitude and kind of taking care of yourself and not overwhelming yourself?
I think it's a journey rather than a moment. It's not a point at which everything comes together at once. You know, a lot of us started businesses as side hustles, they're projects on top of our day job, because the day job's still important. So you can pay yourself, so you can test the market. Cassie was talking about a project funded on Kickstarter as well, so that's another way to test, you know, is there appetite for what I want to build? So, you know, it's taking manageable risks rather than one big leap. But anyway, to the panel.
Who needs the balance? I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, I start to enjoy with the upside downs. When you're like, one day you're in up, one day you're in down, you're like a roller coaster life. But you start to enjoy with your life. And you know, I like to just pass the challenges. When now I'm really enjoying with the challenges. Every day I need challenge. I don't know why. How, you know, after 5 years like being an entrepreneur, you start to, you know, get the flow, and you start to know how to jump over the challenges. I mean, if you're in here, you're a gamer. I mean, if you're a gamer, the gaming, it's equal to the luxury of making mistakes. When we are playing games, we are making mistakes and start from the beginning and start to pass the levels again, but save the characters. I mean, and so on. I really enjoy with the challenges, and you know, it's sometimes it's okay to lose your balance. Just breath and continue.
Yeah, I want to talk about mental health because that's a huge thing, and that's something that I created 2 videos on my YouTube channel about that, about how much I suffered from loneliness, how much I suffered from anxiety on and on over my life. And I think we have to talk about that without victimizing ourselves, and with the objective of understanding how our brains work. The last time that I had a massive crisis of anxiety, I learned something that is so useful, that we have 3 emotional regulation systems in our brains, which are the drive system, the threat system, and the soothing system. And when you go into high achieving mode, being an entrepreneur, or even high achieving in companies, you actually all the time between the drive and the threat. And the drive is a dopamine. It's like what makes you go all the time, and you get addicted to what you're saying, right? The threat is adrenaline, is the fear of what if I fail? I must not fail, right? It's really the perfectionism. And then the soothing system is totally neglected. And then you crumble, right? You go into a mode that you cannot function anymore because you need hugs, you need oxytocin, you need family, you need friends, you know, you need people who are not in your workspace, that you can just have a relaxing time together without thinking of anything else. And the last time I had this crisis of massive anxiety, I made 2 beautiful friendships because I started to dedicate time to soothe myself, to look after myself, to do yoga, to, you know, to take it easy. So I know that I've been always a believer of having an unbalanced, don't be balanced because that's boring, but you have to look after yourself because you don't want to die of a heart attack before you make great things in your life, right?
Did you want to add anything? I think it is a really important.
As far as when the right time, I don't think there ever really is a right time. I think it's something that you contend with yourself, and you come to this moment where you think, okay, I'm going to give this a try. I don't have all the pieces sort of in the right order, but I'm going to try this anyway. Like jumping, I always equate it with jumping into a pool, right? You know, no one ever likes to jump into a cold pool. But you know, there's no sort of middle of the line, and the more you sort of gently lower yourself into that, the worse it feels. So I would say just get in the pool. In terms of sort of practical advice, I would say one thing that I always try to bear in mind is that my startup or my game, whatever the case may be, that is not who I am. That is something that I do. It doesn't define me as a person. My personal identity stays separate to that. And it would be brilliant if my startup succeeded in the way that I hope that it does. I'm an ambitious person, as I'm sure we all are in this room. But things in life, I mean, life has its ups and downs. It has its challenges. There could be a whole sort of cluster of events that are completely out of your control, whether that's the economy, whether that's a personal situation in your life, that can mean that tomorrow you're looking at a project that's essentially failing. But that doesn't mean that you're a failure, right? So I think that you have to kind of separate yourself from those extraneous events and just focus on the part that you can control, which is it's easier said than done, but that's what I kind of cling to. And the second thing I would say in terms of practical advice is find a mentor. For me, it was one person who I met totally by chance at a startup meetup. And he's now turned into a person that I would consider to be family. I can call him any time of day or night with a startup problem, and he's almost always there. And the third thing that I'll leave you with is I actually started both my companies in the midst of some pretty big personal challenges. And while we talk about work-life balance, and it's a super important thing, maybe even try to think about this as a way of coming to understand more about yourself and an opportunity to discover how resilient and courageous you can actually be.
I think also a couple of like practical tips. Like one would be if you find that you're having a hard time making decisions because your brain is so tired out, that means you're burning out. So that means you really need to take some time to rest. And I think secondly, what's really helped me is scheduling in time to relax, time to take a break. Say, nope, I'm not answering any emails. I'm not doing anything except soothing myself, as Roberta said. And not feeling guilty about taking that time at all. I think that's been helpful.
I think another thing is kind of networking. Go to events like this, build networks of peers, networks of mentors. I don't have one specific person. I've got an advisory board of people that I go to, this person in one particular area and another. So just collect people like that around you that you can go to fill in the gaps in your own knowledge, because none of us know everything. So I saw another hand, so we'll go there and then there.
So we spoke a little bit about what you guys look for when deciding where to invest, and we spoke prototype was mentioned, and the team experience was mentioned. But what personal traits are you guys looking for in the people who are pitching?
I think probably one of the best pieces of advice is that you can't do good business with bad people. So I think that when I'm wanting to make a business deal, if I think that this person is untrustworthy, even if the deal looks great, that is a surefire signal that you should not go through with that deal. So it's really important that you think that the other person, other team are decent people. I think is the most basic advice I could give there.
Yeah, I think integrity is absolutely right. So you've got to share values. If you're taking on investment, you're giving away part of your company. So your values and your objectives have got to be aligned. It's a major decision. It's probably easier to get a divorce than to get rid of an investor. Seriously.
I invested in, as an angel investor, I invested in 3 companies, and they all women. And to me, it's very interesting to be on the other side of the table now, right? And I'm a newbie investor, by the way, but I can tell you what I have been looking for. And I think there is something about the way that women talk about their products. They talk about the thing they're doing now, or the thing they've done up to now. They say, oh, I built this little thing here. Check out this little thing, it's super amazing. But I really want to hear the big story. I want to hear where this is going to be, right? It's like, this is not it. This is who you are now, what you built now. What is it that you really want to build in 5 years' time? It doesn't need to be 10 years' time, but it's like, really, how does this thing will become such a big thing that will actually get millions of people to enjoy your game, in particular in the sector, and I'm talking about tech as well. How is it going to impact millions of people in the future? And I think, and I speak for myself as well, it was a big learning for me to learn how to to tell the right story of where I want to go as opposed to where I am right now. So I think that is a thing that I usually tell a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think the trait is connected to that, is showing your ambition, not being afraid of showing your ambition.
I think, and we talked about team earlier. I mean, investing is a people business. So the integrity. You've got to be excited by what these people are saying. You've got to demonstrate your credibility as an entrepreneur. What you don't have personally. You've got to convince us that you've got people in the team who can do that. So it's very much, especially at early stage, about the people. And Simay, you've done some investing too.
I'm like a little angel investor. So because I joined the fund, which is founded by amazing women all over the world. So 4 continents, 90 women come together, and we now we already invested 8 startups from all around Europe, not just in gaming. So what I learned that they are looking, as you are so right, they are not looking just the idea, they are looking for vision. They are not just looking for one game. Just show your vision to the investor. So which is very important. The second one is the team is the second important thing for the investment process.
And then what we mentioned before, that this is going to make our money back and some, so that we can, hopefully increase the investing activity.
Very briefly, there's something that a lot of people don't know what happens behind the scenes, right? When a venture capitalist go and talk to you or invest the money into your company, they're actually investing on behalf of tons of other limited partners called LPs, who are pension funds and government funds and sometimes family offices, right? People who are very rich who want to invest in multiple businesses. So they're actually looking after this portfolio of lots of money from lots of people, and they're very careful about reducing their risk as much as possible when they invest in another company, so that they can return that investment to their initial investors in their fund. That makes sense.
I will add on to that. Yeah, there's definitely looking at lowering risk when it comes to VCs. But for a lot of VCs, venture capital funds, their model often, when it comes to tech, when it comes to entertainment, they know that like 95% of tech startups fail. But the startups that do well do astoundingly well, and that pays for all the other failures, essentially. So that means that they are looking for businesses that can really scale. So having ambition, having a vision for something that can really, really big is really important when you're targeting those kind of investors. I think it's really important to spend some time when you're starting a business, really doing research on investors, what kind of money there is available to you, what they're looking for, going to talking to each one, what is their investment strategy. There's lots of different types of investors, lots of different types of investment strategies, and they're all looking for different things. So sometimes you might find that you develop a company or an idea that sort of fits like a certain group of investors that you know that you can raise money from.
Right, so we'll take your question now.
Thank you. I'm sorry if that's gonna be like a bit of a noob question, but so a lot of people, I'm assuming that a lot of people that are here are like me, and we are in production of games, so we're either artists or devs or whatever, and I know a lot of people have the passion of creating their own games, but sometimes when you worked on big companies, it feels a bit scary to feel like, okay, I know nothing of finance, I know nothing of how investment works, and even looking online, like there's so many like meetings and talks and stuff like that, and I was just wondering, like, how does someone start like looking into those things? Because you guys mentioned some routes, like either you make your own product and you put it out there, and then you talk, and then you look for investors, or maybe I think Beta mentioned something about like searching for investment first or something. So I'm just wondering, like, if you have no idea and you're just starting out and you just have this idea, or you have friends that are excited to do something together, like how do you start dwelling on those things? If you guys have any tips on like a book or books or meetings or things that you guys found really useful to start doing this research. I know there's like online and there's the web, and that's huge, but if there's any particular things that you guys found really useful to make that step.
Do you know Yuki? UK Interactive Entertainment. It's a game association, and they organize amazing workshops, amazing meetings. How can you start your own company? You can have a meeting, one-to-one meeting with the lawyers, and it's all free. Please check out Yuki and follow their events and conferences. Meet the people with there, and make practice. Like an angel investment, you will talk many angel investor, and many of them say no. Maybe if you go to the Wings Interactive, they will reject you, but don't, keep going, keep to talk with the people, talk with angel investors. So practice is very important for investment process.
I think first of all you need to decide what kind of company you want to be, right? So as Cassia was saying, it's like for a particular range of VCs and more professional type of investors and funds, they're looking for companies who want to scale really fast, who want to games that are going to reach millions of players, right? So more casual type of games, or more kind of well-established type of genres that have been proven that was massively successful because they would trust that would scale. So that's the high growth type of business. And then there's the lifestyle type of business, which is the business that you just want to have it because you're passionate about that, you love making games, and that's, you don't really want to deal with investors. And what you need to focus on is remove investment thinking from your brain and focusing on getting revenues. So focusing on if it's a game that you're going to launch on Steam, how can you find the right people on Steam to build a relationship with? Because when you launch a game, you want to have someone that from biz dev to give you visibility on your game, right? Or if you're going to launch on mobile, try to find routes to find people on Apple that you could start with, having a relationship and show your game on an ongoing basis. So it's all about revenue, not about investment. I have tons of resources I can share with you later. I even shared in our thread. Check out Paul Graham. He's the founder of Y Combinator. It's technology, not game specifically, but he talks a lot about the very specific things of starting a business. And he's got like probably 3 or 4 essays on about funding and really beginning of it all, because Y Combinator is a very big technology accelerator for very early stage startups. So I would start from there, and then I can send you some more links later on.
I'm just going to jump in here really quickly. Is it a game? Do you have a concept for a game that you're starting with? So you've got a concept, and have you built it? Okay, so you want to do this separately from the company that you're working for? Is that right?
Yeah, one day. Like
Okay.
it's not. I'm trying to get like all the research that I need to know. Like because one day I want to have my own company, and I'm just trying to get like okay, how does this work, and what do I need, and how long does it take? Because like I'm an artist. That's so I mean I just have the ideas. It's more like I'm trying to figure out how everything works. So like talking
Can you
to
find someone else to help you build like a prototype or a very, very simple, super simple version of what
I'm
you're
learning Unity. I'm
Yeah.
learning to code on my own. But
That's awesome.
But that's like, it's going quite slow because I just have so much time.
I
But-
think one of the biggest impediments for me super early on was exactly what you're experiencing now, which is how many papers do I need to read? Do I need to understand legalese? What is equity? What does that mean?
Yeah.
And I think the easiest way of breaking this down is just make something. Just do it, right? Just sit there and produce the simplest possible iteration of what it is that you're after, then try to find people that believe in it, pull them in. It doesn't have to be a full-time thing. It could just be something that you do sort of out of the office. You don't even have to shout about it. And once you feel like you've got something, then you slowly start to kind of build it up. Think about the concept, think about how that could be the springboard for a company. How could this game sort of become the first product or the first thing that we launch as part of a full games company? And the other thing I would say as far as knowing everything, just learn on the job. That's what I did. There's no way that you're going to know everything about the legal requirements of brokering a deal with a major investor. Like, you're just not going to know that. That's the reason you hire lawyers. That's the reason you hire an accountant. Obviously, read around the subject as much as you possibly can, but don't expect that you're going to know everything. Just start with the most basic version of what you want to build, and then go from there. And it is a little bit like feeling around in the dark, but that is kind of the beauty of doing this in the first place.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty much very much what I was going to say. Is like doing, reading, talking. So like actually doing something, with making the thing that you're, the idea, like trying to bring some of it to life. Reading up about it. There's so much resources out there. It can be overwhelming, and trying to find the right useful resources can be a bit of a struggle. But that's where talking comes in, where you're trying to find people that have done things like this before. When you say that you're an artist, I immediately think of like Fireproof Studios in Guildford, who are a bunch who started off as like 5 artists who came together and made the Rim series on mobile, which has been fantastically successful. So I would probably be like, I mean, I could give you an introduction to Barry Meat, who is the one of the key people there, and he can tell you about his story and how they went from artists at a big commercial company to making their own company and their own games. So learning the stories from that can be really, and this again, like talking, like building up that network and just asking people like you are right now, that's exactly what you should be doing.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Another question is probably going to be the last one, but
Thank you so much. Well, I'm really looking for advice in the situation I'm going through. I'm not really sure that anybody else is going through the same, but I think I basically have done everything on my hands to try to do something meaningful with my life. I have a business plan for a video game in which I'm trying to apply scientific theories in the game mechanics. And I'm working on the software industry several years, wanted to switch to the creative industry, did a master degree in video games here in the UK, but then I basically feel blocked. I mean, I cannot go on for a couple of things. Well, I'm international, then when I hear about funds and opportunities, all of them are limited only for the citizens of the country. Then I was told anytime I got in touch with certain groups or institutions or entrepreneurs, they said, start your own thing in your own country, and start, make your team. So for the last year and a couple of months, I've been trying to find people. They already had the backgrounds as graphic designers, programmers in my home country, but they really cannot catch this thing about working in video games. People in my home country in Bolivia basically does video games for fun. They see it as a hobby, and everybody else is really working, same as myself, in another job just for paying the bills, right? So I'm really blocked because I don't have an ecosystem in my home country, my citizenship, that basically promotes also trying to do your startup, start your own thing. I don't have a team. I don't have ecosystem also, like for instance here is amazing UK. There is lots of people that is prepared already. They studied, they have the knowledge, they are ready, really ready to start doing a thing. I cannot form a team. I don't have funds and I don't have ecosystem. So I don't know
Are you
what
based
kind of
in Bolivia?
advice you could give me as international. What can I do? I mean, I think I have everything, but
Are you based in Bolivia?
yes.
Oh, I see.
Hmm.
Gosh, I have no idea. Do you have any?
I'm from Brazil, and I can feel your pain. It's yeah, the ecosystem in Brazil, it's not as like nowhere near well developed as here. I think you have to go back to the drawing board. Really, you have to go back to looking to your business plan and understanding where's the environment you are, and find. Do you have meetups over there? Like
I
people
mean,
gathering to
I
talk
am
about.
part of the community. I also try to give talks and try to really get people into taking the game development as something serious. Yeah.
So, or even certain universities. So, I know in Brazil there were some incubators inside universities that you could tap into knowledge there, and also kind of talk to people to navigate how you should be able to find the team and find the resources. It's really tough. I don't think, probably I'm the closest one who would sympathize with you because I'm from Brazil, but it's tough to give you a practical advice without knowing all the ecosystem in Bolivia. But we can follow up later on, and maybe this a specific question that I can answer to you.
Thank you so much.
Right. I think we've got a couple of minutes left. Is that right? I just wanted to ask everyone on the panel to just give one final. What was the best piece of advice you ever received, or just a final thought? So, start with you, Cassia.
I think the key turning point for me in my career was learning to network and learning to ask people for things and not being afraid of rejection. And it's actually something that I still kind of, in the process of still learning sometimes. But I think that when I realized that I could actually find people and find the right answers to the questions that I had, or find those opportunities just by going around and talking and asking lots of different people, I realized that there's a huge amount of power in that. That's my piece of advice.
I think we've talked a little bit about profitability, which is obviously very important. But as a person with a social enterprise, I feel the need to kind of jump in here and say that we've talked a little bit about work-life balance and choosing something that is meaningful. And I would just really encourage everyone in this room to think about games as being a really powerful medium for affecting social change. It can really do that, and that's the power that everybody in this room has. So in building your games and building your companies, really try and think about what a difference you could make.
So courage creates courage. So learning by doing is such an amazing thing in the life, such a precious thing. So, and we are human beings. We can learn. So don't scared about learning. Try and try it again, and be original, be authentic. Come up with a new genre. Come up with a new idea. So it's very important because nobody can predict the success of the game. But when you come up with the original idea, authentic idea, the investors also you can take attention from the digital era.
I'm going to say something that is more, so many things, right? So apart from taking action, it's such a mindset thing. You know, it's such a cheesy word, but we very often, women, we don't think we're good enough. And the more I achieve in my life, the more imposter syndrome I have. Just so you know, like massive, and that's normal. And we all make mistakes all the time. We talked about this before, right? It's like there are so many things that happen on the day-to-day as an entrepreneur, and you know, and even in your lives, if you're not an entrepreneur, that you don't see coming, right? And we learn, and we make mistakes, and we fail, and I think kind of feeling that it's okay to fail, and it's okay if you're feeling down today, and if you're not good enough, it's fine. Tomorrow you might be feeling good enough, and talk to someone who will just boost yourself, because we are human beings, not human doings. So I think that, that's something that I remind myself all the time, and I think it's very, very important for any big thing you want to create in your life.
I think it's really easy just to assume that everybody else is smarter than you or more confident, but I think everyone's riddled with exactly the same insecurities. A lot of it is just front. So you act confident, people will believe you. So final word from me. But thank you very much to our panel. You've been amazing. Thank you to the audience. Great questions.
Thank you so much, ladies. Honestly, I can't thank you all enough for being so authentic and honest with all of us here today, because talking about investment is one of those things that can seem quite frightening and also quite statistics-led. And to hear you guys talk about it from a very human perspective of how it feels to be on the investment and then the kind of investee side is something that I think is quite rare. I didn't